Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the usual friendly IDRiM podcast. Uh, it's me and Mark again. This time, as always been. Before this, you always see the podcast is all about winners in Samos and what the IDRiM 25 conference in Samos itself. But this time, we're actually just sitting down, talking together as we transitioning into our regular podcast again. And sorry for the missing episodes last week because we coming back from the conference and return back to our daily life again. Now, this episode is uh, talking about Samos, what happened there, what's actually good there, and our reflection about on that conference. And perhaps also will explore uh, a hope or expectations for the next conference in 2026, which is will be in different continents, as you may know it from the announcement in the end of the 2025 conference, which is will be in Indonesia in 2026. So to open this podcast, uh, can you give me your impressions of the conference, Mark? The IDRiM 25 conference in Samos.
Yeah, so for the conference itself, very well ran. My concern going into the conference is that, and Harris, you'll know this because we've both experienced the travel, is
Yeah.
that Samos is extremely remote.
Mhm.
I mean, let's just talk about the travel first before we get into the conference itself. I
Yeah.
mean, both of us, had pretty long journeys back to and from. I mean,
Yeah.
my journey, to Samos took me 26 hours to get there.
26.
And,
Yeah.
well, missing flights doesn't exactly help with tight
Yeah.
connections, but
Yeah.
yeah, 3 flights there, 3 flights back,
Okay.
and then it was 32 hours getting back as well,
Mm,
because I was actually also
mm,
luckily, I actually didn't go for my original flight because
mm.
I would have been stuck any case because of
Yeah.
Storm Amy that hit the UK
Mm,
on the way
yeah.
back.
Mm.
Which how was your return, your flights? Because I don't think you were badly affected as I was on the travel.
Well, the worst that I can get is basically the delay in Athens, which is actually affected our dear friends. It is not with us now. It's pretty smooth for me. A delay a bit in Copenhagen before reaching down to Athens, then another delay in Athens before reaching on Samos. Although when we return, it's kind of a bit scare for me because it's like a lot of rains and thunderstorms, and thank God it was the weather clearing up just before we boarded the plane to Athens. we are
Oh God,
we
yeah,
are in the same we are in the same planes anyway, and like
yeah,
we were and like my flights to Copenhagen is also smooth, and then I
yeah,
just arrived home, and the day after I arrived home, it's like the storms came to Sweden, and like
mm,
it's in the entire day we just in our blanket because it was
yeah,
heavy rains outside.
yeah. I mean, I genuinely didn't think we were going to get off that island.
Mm,
When literally when we walked out and literally because I
mm,
was you and I
yeah,
with your wife, we were literally
yes,
waiting for our taxi. It was just a river running down the
yeah,
road
yeah.
and lightning. And for anyone who didn't go to Samos, virtually
Mm,
all the planes on and off the island are propeller
yeah,
planes, which can't fly in that condition. So I
yeah,
thought we're going to be stuck here because we were under a red weather warning that morning.
yeah.
But basically telling us to stay at home. And I was like, we
Mm,
were like, great. But yeah, we weren't badly affected
mm,
compared to Demi or Demetrius.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what was it again? He took, was it 7 flights to get
Seven
home?
flights. Yeah,
7 flights and 3 days to get back to Norway.
yeah. They,
And
he has he had another 2 days of vacations in the hotel close to the airport.
Yeah,
It's
in
basically
Sweden.
in Sweden. So basically, it's like up and I mean, like he hope of many Scandinavian capitals from Copenhagen to Stockholm, then go back to Norway. So it's basically he's traveling around Nordic countries before coming
Really?
home.
Well, I thought for a second he was actually going to be flying to Helsinki,
Yeah,
and do the whole route off. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the travel was probably the most eventful bit of
Mm,
everything because I think we
mm,
all it's. I mean, we joke about it. I mean, but
mm,
it shows really how remote some of these islands are, and how difficult it is to get on and off, even at the best of times.
mm,
And when there's even a weather storm, you start to worry,
mm,
are we going to get off this island? So, I
mm.
mean, for the people of Samos, and one of the reasons why obviously we went to Samos was that
Mm.
it was the fifth anniversary of
Yeah,
the earthquake that badly affected Samos, and
yeah.
you only wonder what the days after really felt, for those who are on the island, because
Mm,
if it's that remote, trying to get in and out, at the
mm,
best of times, when you're going to need, food and you're going to need water trying to get in and out, that must have been, and we didn't do the tour, which happened at the beginning because of our
yeah.
flights, but you can see even walking around
Mm,
Samos now,
yeah.
5 years on, there were buildings, and I will put on the screen some,
Mm,
pictures from there, but there are buildings that are still shells, basically,
yeah.
of their former life because of the earthquake.
Mm,
So it it actually, when you reflect upon it now, and I especially reflect upon it after the
mm,
conference and being there,
mm,
what it must have been like, for those. And I think that actually that's the point of this whole conversation we may have joked about
yeah.
there, was that's what was so good about the conference, because
Yeah.
it wasn't literally just the 3 days of the conference,
Mm,
the normal presentations. It was everything around it that actually made you think about it more, because the traveling, it showed
mm,
how hard it is to get there, on and
mm,
off the island.
yeah.
The visual imagery of these,
Mm,
5 years, and they're still rebuilding. I mean,
mm,
what they have rebuilt has been good, but when you go outside, you can still see the effects 5 years on.
mm. Well, I guess that's also the central point of this conference. This time when they explore the resilience of the remote island of Samos, and specifically Samos, as we can see, uh, it was in the many different fronts. They are prone to disaster as well as it's the closest border with the neighboring countries. So that's a lot of complications regarding the disaster response and disasters management when it struck with the earthquake last 5 years. So in a way that I think the organizing committee is doing very well to give us such experience for us that we absorbs not only the knowledge that had been presented during all 3 days of the conference, but we also saw how the people live in that situations, as you mentioned as well, that okay, we saw some buildings actually still in the devastating state after the earthquake. Some's already recovered. uh Perhaps they also have an effect in their tourism as well. But the presentations during the conference, the plenary sessions, and many other sessions actually captures this well. They talk about how it was resilience and the hazard assessments for the islands. Many speakers also talk about the systemic risk that actually how the islands can actually depends in many different resources, and what's actually can be done for them to be resilient and in the futures better prepared for disaster events. So I know that you have two presentations in this conference, Marco. How was it for you? How about the first and how about the seconds? Whether it's better for you? Which one is better, and what insight you gain of having
Mm.
presenting these many different topics?
Yeah, so I did two presentations, very different.
Mm,
So for the first one, I tried to capture. I hate calling it an island because yes, it is an island, but it's so big that it's not an island. So my for the listeners who've followed previous episodes, I do a lot on
mm.
climate change perception.
Yeah.
So after our conversation and our
Mm,
podcast on Storm Eowyn, it raised a lot of
yeah.
questions about Ireland is one of the least likely affected countries in the world
Mm,
from climate change. But I was interested that, well, what are they, how do they perceive climate change? Because if you want to fix climate change, you need an all approach. You basically need all countries coming together.
mm,
If, and the irony is that if you're a country that's not going to really feel the impacts, do
mm,
you really have the people coming along with you saying that they know this? So I particularly focused on that. My second presentation on the final morning
mm,
was radically different. It was very less about data and more about theory. So it's a bit different to the standard, introduction,
mm,
methodology, results. So mine was very much about just a long theory discussion,
mm,
which was about nihilism in disasters. It's something that I've, really looked at for the last 4 years.
mm,
Um, it was, and actually led to a relatively long discussion point. We were supposed to have 2 minutes,
mm.
but we were there for 5 or 6 minutes with the co-chair,
Yeah.
discussing this. It was because it is an issue that seems to be getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
and it's not really being researched. I would say
Mm,
I what I did was after I started to come up with this during COVID times, and I let the research slip away because I just felt that COVID was so unique that we would go
yeah.
back to kind of a pre-COVID standard.
Mm,
But what I've noticed in the last 12 months that then pre-COVID standards are not coming back, and then I could become concerned about, well, what does that mean for DRR if we're going to
mm,
have this distrustful world that we seem to be developing?
mm.
So yeah, that was it was actually good to go back into an old presentation that I give years and years ago and update it obviously to more modern. But it seemed to be very well received. I enjoyed doing it. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but I
Mm,
felt that 12 minutes to do a presentation
mm,
is tough. It's better than the 2 minute one I did for the UK disasters conference only a few weeks previously,
mm.
but 12 minutes is still hard to consolidate your research into 12 minutes. I mean, I was lucky I got 2 times 12 minutes over the conference. But how did you find yours? Because I think you did one in a special session.
Well, it was a nice surprise. It's my first time doing the special sessions, which is actually, well, many special sessions actually planned ahead with their groups presenting all their group achievement. But in these special sessions, it's supposed to be a workshop. And at the time, I was have led submissions of abstracts and like looking at the themes. I was integrated in that special sessions and regular sessions, which is I welcomed, of course. And in this special sessions, it's actually not, since it's special sessions in my presentation place was located at the farthest place of everybody. No, not many people coming in, but still around 15, 16, the participants actually attended the session, which is makes me kind of happy to be attended with those people. So basically, in there we have nice discussions about the complex adaptive system, because now what we realize is like after COVID, especially, we're moving towards a systemic risk, and one part of it is like how we see the entire thing as a system, it's basically how it can be adapted. We don't see like it, okay, we have this kind of hazards, and we have this kind of regions that affected by the hazards, and how it's actually interact to become disaster. Now we try to look at as, okay, we have the system in place, but regardless of the size, it can be as big as the entire world, or nations, perhaps regions, even as small as affiliates, or even a family, and how it's behave as a complex system, and where there is persistent disruptions occurring, how it's actually can be resilience, and reducing their vulnerability on that. So it's the first one is it's kind of introductions, and like thought provoking as how the entire life we have actually also part of the one complex system, ourself, our brains, our our universe, and many others. And so basically we can actually see and make it simplistic as it follows the same patterns. Several people disagree, of course, because like it's basically you try to be so simplistic about the entire things, but to list as a to make easy understanding uh, of how we see in the world itself. It's actually many different system, regardless of this complexity. It's basically follow similar behaviors, and from this we actually find that every system fails. We just don't know when, and like that when it nearing the fails, it's basically we they usually have a signal that we should be better to find those signal, and like make early warning, which is like similar with when the disaster events, there is a hazards that actually threatening the systems, and then we know that there's a signal before it's coming, regardless whether it's at slow onset of rapid onset event like that. When well, I actually presented about what I'm doing, which is very different from what I did before. So throughout my participation in iDRiMs, I always talk about volcanic ash and volcanic eruptions, and now I presented something different, and like it's about the system for systemic vulnerabilities, how to a system interdependent with other systems actually, and how these interdependencies affecting each other, whether it's increased vulnerability or increased resilience. And I got some nice discussions, and like in the end it become just nice discussion, not the workshop as it's intended to, because in the way the discussions went longer than expected, but everyone's satisfied anyway. And the other unique thing is because during the sessions, the siren had been rung for many times on that day, because it was the national emergency days, if I remember correctly, right? And
Yeah.
like they try to like have these drills of ringing the emergency signal in periodical manner throughout the day. So it was nice. My first experience in the special sessions, which is knowing something new, someone new, and getting in touch with all those wonderful people. Now, how about the venue, Mark? How do you find about the venue itself uh, in the conference? Because it's like pretty different, I guess,
Mm.
for most of our experience, which we usually have this venue in the university instead of
Yeah.
the city, and it's scattered,
Yeah.
because like it's their planning is different from the university, as of course, where it's centered and you just move between vicinities. Now you need to move, as I mentioned earlier, that my place was the farthest away from everyone.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you were lucky because on the
Yeah,
first day, in the afternoon on the first day, it started to rain.
yeah,
And I was in that room as well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
literally, I had to borrow Irene's umbrella on the way back
Mm.
because I actually sent you a message saying, "Could you please send me a boat?" Because it was torrential
Yeah.
rain, and I was like, and I
Mm.
hadn't got. I mean,
Mm.
going to Greece, I didn't expect it to rain, so I
Mm.
didn't bring a rain jacket with me.
Yeah.
And talking about them, bells and sirens
Mm.
going off. Did you bring any
Mm.
earplugs for that? Because
Mm.
it was just continuous all day. I think that
Yeah, yeah.
the best bit of that whole day was when we were in the main room
Mm.
with Anna on stage, and then
Mm.
the flyover of the
Mm.
military, and you could
Mm.
just hear. It sounded like it was like an invasion about to occur. But yeah, in terms of the venue,
Mm.
um, it was very different. It was to paint a picture.
Mm.
Um, most of the rooms were pretty close together.
Yeah,
Because it, like you said, it's these are in municipality buildings rather than a university campus,
yeah,
so you are literally walking around the regular streets, going to
yeah.
these buildings, and um, the fifth room, which is what we've been talking about, was
Mm.
what 10 minutes walk away from all the other rooms, and
Yeah, yeah,
it was on the bayfront,
yeah,
which a beautiful room, and it was actually
yeah,
a really good room for having discussions in. But
yeah.
it was hard. It definitely was hard to find.
Mm.
I mean, I went by. I think I walked by the front door twice trying to find where it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the main room was beautiful.
Mm.
It was literally like a town hall type
Mm.
of theatre where you would
Mm.
have regular meetings or
Mm.
pantomimes at Christmas type.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to commend them. It was definitely different. It was nice, different, but
Mm.
it wasn't just, I was gonna say dull, university architecture, but not all
Mm.
universities are like that now.
Mm.
But it was very cultural architecture, I'll say. It was,
Yeah.
you can tell it was quite old and,
Mm.
quite historic, and that actually
Mm.
made it even more special. How about you? How did you find the venue?
Yeah, especially it's a nice experience for me. Because like the way that they set up the main venue it's good for the conference, but perhaps they also, as you mentioned, they put it as together people, and like they have some shows on there during perhaps many events throughout the years, Christmas, Easter, or something like that. uh the third room was good as well when we but yeah, the heap of stairs perhaps did not help for many people, but it was nice experience,
Mm.
especially with the one with the archive rooms, where it's
Oh,
actually, yeah, it's nice. There are a lot of archive. We can see the old maps and old pictures, and it's nice. But perhaps my a slight dislike on that is uh the people scattered.
mm.
Perhaps like in some sessions, perhaps like, oh, they want more people to come, but it's not. Uh, when you go, in your session, especially in the last hours of the presentations, last hours of the conference, on that day, people are retired and okay, I already, oh yeah, we just sit on these rooms until the end, and then it's finished. Then that makes difficult in a way. Although, yeah, in many different places, it's basically pretty close, but with the exception of one particular room that's very far away from everyone, and like it's like need an efforts to go there. But overall, it was nice, and in the vicinity also a lot of stores. and restaurants, so
Mm.
people can just enjoy uh, the place surrounding the venues. I actually also have some experience with these kind of things, but like when I was in conference in Vienna, it was also not the ministerial offices actually held that conference, but they put it in the museum. Just basically they have one how annex in the museum that you use it as the conference room, but the entire conference only used that one room, so
Mm.
it's practically uh very different experience I have, but it's nice overall because
Mm.
like it's it's different. It's a nice change in a way.
Yeah, I mean that room also where we did the podcast recordings.
Yeah,
That was. It's a shame that wasn't used more. It was a nice
yeah,
room. It was
mm,
perfect for podcast recording.
yeah,
In the end.
yeah,
But yeah, that was a very underutilized room. I felt because you had so much potential, but
mm,
I think it was all virtually online sessions
mm,
in that room. So I think that didn't help, create that room. So really, it was more 4 rooms than 5, during the conference. Um, and obviously the intro,
mm,
welcome ceremony,
mm,
which was about the Noto earthquake film,
yeah, yeah,
which that was a trek to get to.
yeah.
Um,
Mm.
how long did it take us? About half an hour
Half an hour
plus.
walking.
Yeah, of walking down by the bayfront, which was nice. It was really nice when you first get off the plane.
Yeah.
Um, literally walking by the bay, it was nice and warm. You
Mm.
could look over and see the lights of the town. I mean, but when you've just done all that traveling, you kind of like, yeah, it was. But the reason why
Exhausting.
for yeah, and but the thing is that we were like I think we were the last to arrive.
Yeah,
Um, I think I got on the last plane that night to
yeah,
get onto the island before the
yeah,
conference, and
yeah,
I was exhausted by that point
mm,
because so Harris knows the story, but I actually missed my flight
yeah,
um to get to Greece, so I literally and then literally was up the whole of the previous night. So by that point, I was running on fumes before the conference, and I remember I still went for a little bit, but I was just like, at that point, I was just tired and I just wanted to
yeah,
get back. And then after the conference, on the Thursday, wasn't it? Yes,
yeah,
Thursday. There was the boat trip. Now I didn't do the boat
yeah,
trip because at that point I just wanted to be on terra firma and
yeah,
didn't want to be anywhere else but that.
yeah.
But you went on the boat trip, so how was that?
It was great. It was nice for trip. Uh, Me and my wife like it a lot. It's a lot of, I mean, like, but the one that is actually on the boat trip is many senior members of iDreams. Other than me, it's like Dimi and Professor Noyo Okada, Professor Lucas Tatano, Ana Maria Cruz, and the local organizing committees. It's basically kind of very exclusive groups. Not many
Mm,
new faces that I found, but it was very good experience because like in a ways we saw Turkey's region as well, and the weather was just perfect. It was sunny and the water is also good. We swam actually. We stopped in the middle of the crystal clear waters, a turquoise. Pardon of my pronunciations, butchering the name. It's basically like the bluish green or the greenish blue. That kind
mm,
of colors. You know what I mean.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
basically swam there. It's like, and it's not that cold. When I live in Sweden, it's like at that day it's already cold everywhere in Sweden, and people who still swim is basically using the indoor swimming pool. But we were swimming outside under the sun, in the warm waters, and then we stopped at the small restaurant on in the coastal small beach. I guess it's called Mikali Beach, and
Mm.
we have also a nice lunch as well with a barbecue and some many Greeks original foods. The other thing that impressed me as well when you're in the poster session, Mark, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically like they also exhibit many different arts that it's
Mm.
coming from the reflection of disasters. But I saw, since the lunch place is actually very close to the poster sessions, I guess, although the posters are allocated on the two lands, it went well. Many people actually interact during the poster and they ask each other, what
Mm.
do you think about that? I think it's like the placing of the posters, it's perfect. That people come to get the lunch and, oh, this is nice poster. Let's talk about it, discuss like that.
Yeah, and actually, I think it worked because
Mm,
by having it where if you had to get walk by the posters to get
mm,
to lunch from the main room. There was
mm,
no other way around it. So actually, did I noticed this year? Okay, there wasn't that many posters.
yeah,
Posters almost feel like they're going out of fashion nowadays,
mm,
compared to how they used to be, especially
yeah,
before the pandemic. But yeah, that definitely worked. Now, coming back to your little trip, if you think that, and I know that you've not been in Sweden very long,
yeah.
um, and you said about people going to indoor swimming pools, wait till you get to December and then the frozen lake ice bathing routine
Oh
rituals.
yeah.
Yeah, you should try that. I've heard it's very good for the human soul. But yeah, so yeah, you have yet to feel what really is cold in Europe yet. So you're gonna get a nasty surprise. But yeah, going back to the conference, we keep diverting, um, but yeah, so where was I going with this? Yeah, so in terms of the conference, I think
Mm,
that what I liked as well, and this
mm,
is something that for us we didn't get to experience it because
yeah.
it wasn't, because we were busy doing it during the conference, and it wasn't really for us.
Mm,
But what I liked was that the organizers, and it's one of the first organizers I've ever seen who
mm,
have done this, is actually they
mm,
thought of the spouses and the partners of the
yeah,
delegates,
yeah,
and
yeah.
actually arranged, these
Mm,
events during the
mm,
first 2 days of the
yeah,
conference, which they can attend.
mm,
I think one was a hike, wasn't it?
yeah,
Where they can go and do these events
mm,
without, you know, so they've got something to do because, I mean, I'm single, so I don't, personally
mm,
know, but what I
yeah,
can gather is that, conferences can be quite lonely places for the partners as well because
yeah,
they're on their own. They have to
yeah,
find their own thing to do. Where,
yeah.
with us, and with like Anna Maria, Nori, and all that. After,
Mm,
like you've said, the boat trip, you can
mm,
meet up and do stuff
mm,
outside, but the spouses sometimes don't get to meet each other.
yeah.
So actually, it's quite a nice thing for
Mm,
them to make a clip
mm,
because it, I mean, I like I said, I've never known any conference do it, and I
mm,
actually do praise the municipality in Eastern Samos, are thinking this type of idea
mm,
that helps them with the tourism, yes, but also
yes.
gives them something to do
Mm.
whilst they're there.
That was nice innovations that they introduced, that
Mm,
thinking about the well-being of the participant as well. Well, Samos is, I think it's one of the beautiful cities, and like they try to showcase that as well. Not only the one who has the business on there, but also the one who accompanied. And I think this kind of initiative can be also followed to the next IDRiM conferences, uh, moving forward. That, well, it's actually supported people bringing their families as part of as a travel for them. So it's like win-win situations for the one who has a presentation at conference and the one who accompany them. So it's like in the end, it's all the profits and the benefits coming both for the participants and the organizers as well. Now we both working a lot, especially in the podcasts, and people already seen the results, as well as in the YSS, Young Scientist Sessions. Now, for to be honest, how's your impressions on the Young Scientist Session this year's? Well, especially well a whole in general, but also perhaps the the more important one is the in-person one. Do you
Yeah.
see any rise in quality, perhaps, or interesting one?
So in terms of let's break it, down first. So
Yeah.
let's look at online. Online participants
Mm,
were they were good. I
mm,
think that something that we are going to have to explore, and we talked about this before we started
mm,
recording, is we're going to need to have to reevaluate the format for the online.
mm,
I think that the question is 13 hours of presentations one after another
mm.
basically
Yeah.
too much, too intense.
Mm,
And personally, I was exhausted by the end of it.
mm,
And I know that many others, felt that way as well. So I
mm,
think that we need to look at, is it split? Does it need to be split over 2 days? And that's
mm,
when we get to the next conference. We'll evaluate this more detail. Um, in terms of the quality of the presentations, online, most of which were really, really good. And I
mm,
think that it was definitely it was a lot harder this year
mm,
to spot a winner and who
mm,
won. Um, and I think that, it goes to show that, what I've been saying for a while is about young people and
mm,
young researchers and early career researchers, actually have some of the best presentations. And I
mm,
mean, I'd like to, spend this time to congratulate, Pritam Gurash,
mm,
who, who's been on the previous podcast, for winning
mm,
the online
mm,
competition. Um, and actually, he's an embodiment of, something that I've been saying for a while, is
mm,
that it doesn't matter if you're an early career researcher or a young scientist, it doesn't matter if you are not as experienced as
mm,
others, because I mean, Britnam is he's only currently got his master's, he's only just
mm,
about to start his PhD,
mm,
but he's won the awards before he's
mm,
even really got into his PhD yet. So that shows that if you're good, as I always say.
mm,
For the in person, that one was interesting to
mm,
organize, and I
mm,
think we've we had a meeting this
mm.
morning, and the
Yeah.
joke was about me being behind a pile of paper trying to
Yeah.
scurry the scores to make sure they're right.
Yeah.
um that was the first one. Two was making sure that we got people to score, which
Yeah.
I will say this year we've done very well, and making sure that we've got enough people scoring, giving
Mm,
feedback. And the feedback is going out in November for those who are listening, who are waiting for their feedback.
mm,
And I think three, the quality was strong, and I think that is reflected upon how close the scoring really was this year. And I think
mm,
because we were because we worked together on the scoring, and
mm,
there was from third down to seventh was separated by 0.1, I think it was. So
mm,
it was really close. I think it's the closest finish we've had since I've, been doing this, and, as a chair in 2022. So literally there was, about four people who could have became third, and it was literally a little bit, it could have been just that little bit of luck as well.
mm,
If one ticked the right place, has pushed it up just enough. But I say about luck, it's still you've got to give the good presentations, and actually the average score this year is the highest as well. It has been for a while, including our winner. Now, congratulate Lena as well,
mm,
who got I remember the score was around 4.75 out of 5, which
Mm.
is impressive. And I remember we had to make sure that these
Mm.
scores were correct because
Yeah,
it was nearly perfect score,
yeah, yeah,
which is almost unheard of. But
yeah.
it was confirmed that these scores were
Mm.
correct and
Mm.
genuine. So I think it really does go to show
Mm.
that the quality has been exceptional this year.
Mm. Yeah, you actually mentioned everything's there. But I also want to highlight this time as well that the winners for this year is actually all female, which is like many of our listeners and
In person.
in person. Yeah, but even the online one, also the second place is also female. The jury came from University of British
Yeah.
Columbia in Canada. So it's basically it's we celebrates the involvement of women achievement in disaster
Mm.
risk science. It's basically if our listeners now actually saw our social media, especially LinkedIn, we actually celebrate how the achievement of women in disaster. There are many profiles that you can see there. It's basically highlighted, and I think the results of the YSS this year actually embody this kind of spirits that we would like to have many representative, more equal representative, and disaster science that everyone. Well, I mean, disaster is everybody business, so it's not dominated by only the male, but also the female should also be celebrated their achievement here, and they show this actually uh, can produce good research as
Mm.
our as they already showcase it in this year's YSS. I mean, we don't. Well, I don't want to undermine the male participants, but it's actually encouraged for all of us, regardless of the genders, to be better and to produce perhaps better research and keep working towards uh, good achievement in the
Mm.
futures, and like perhaps become also the motivations for the futures participant of YSS that what we score or what we look at is actually how you can achieve your research, not regardless of anything that they can have uh, affecting your research.
Yeah, and
So, hmm,
I think also it goes to show as well that it doesn't matter
hmm,
what gender you are. If
hmm,
if you've got good research,
hmm,
it'll always shine through. And
hmm.
I think that it actually has to be the credit of iDream that
Yeah.
have definitely supported so many young female
Hmm,
researchers
hmm,
over the years and have made it such a safe space for those to flourish in this
hmm,
community. And if you are listening to this and you are a member or you want to be a member of iDream,
hmm,
we have a committee just that celebrates women in disasters. And obviously you
hmm,
don't even have to be a woman. I'm on that committee to help as an ally,
hmm,
to make sure that we have pure gender equality in
hmm,
DRR research.
hmm,
And if you want to join, you
hmm,
can contact the
hmm,
chair Funda Tung.
hmm.
She's always open for more members on the committee
Yeah.
as well.
Now we actually highlighted many good things of the conference, how its locations actually immerse us with their experience in the remote areas, how the sessions actually try to solve this, take this as their course, and even the YSS and the tours itself, the conference. Now, nearing the ends of this podcast, perhaps, or we can also expand it a little. It's like uh perhaps not like critics, but suggestions for the better as a room of improvement for the
Mm.
future posts of the item conference. What can be better for from this year?
Oh, you've really put me on the spot on this one.
Well, I
Right.
will also answers, but yeah, let's
Yeah.
discuss.
Yes. So I think. the intensity of the days is really quite a lot. So to paint a picture for those who didn't attend, registration on the Monday was what 8:30. We started exactly at 9 o'clock. Um, we went through. We finished at 6 6:30 6:30 7 o'clock. What
Yeah,
time? It was out. It was quite late, and then we got on a coach,
yeah,
went to another part of the island to have dinner,
yeah.
um, and then come back. And it was about 10:30, 11 o'clock before I got
Oh yeah, it's
into my hotel room, and I was really tired by the end of it. And I think that I appreciate what they did, but on the first day in particular, having that long day, it meant that on the second day you're already pretty tired. And
yeah,
I think that, and I know why the organizers did, what they were doing. They were, showcasing different parts of the island, but also the long
yeah,
day is pretty typical.
mm,
I feel that if that was going to happen, what should have happened was a shorter first day. Um,
yeah,
and this is just, and it's live and learn, because we all think that we can do it, but then when you do it in reality, especially when you're having to walk to these different venues, and then
mm,
that's so it was pretty tiring,
mm,
because of that. I think that try to make sure that the venue's a bit more closer. um
yeah,
I think in this case it was harder because
mm,
it's not a campus, it's not going to
yeah,
be, and I would imagine that next year's host is not going to have the same issues, like for,
yeah,
and we'll talk about that probably in a little bit. Um, so I think that that was the other main area that we need to watch out for, is that especially for people who are who can't walk as far. So there
yeah,
are some. I know that there were some delegates, and I've come across some other delegates, in past conferences who might not be able to do that 10-minute walk as easy.
yeah.
So just maybe watch out, for that situation.
Mm.
What about yourself? What did you think that could, where we've learned that could have be a little bit better?
Well, you highlighted the logistic there, which is like I think the main concerns of most of all. Uh, the other thing that highlight is basically it also mentions, but this also depends on the resources, whether like to have more expansions to touch with the local communities, because there are the
Mm,
municipalities, and we actually discussed this during the Samos that they should have several sessions actually in their local language to actually, so the local people would actually interact with us and know that there are many researchers all over the world actually coming to talk about perhaps something interesting for them to increase their preparedness and resilience. They actually can know about that. It was discussions that perhaps can be better for the next host, because like the host will have their own local knowledge and local wisdom, and perhaps the interactions between the wisdom that we brings as researchers from other areas can actually enrich each other. we,
mm,
we know how the wisdom is, and like how the host can say facilitate this with different in languages.
mm,
And well, now we are supported now with many AI translations. I guess the translations will not be big problems in the futures. So for me, I would like to have that perhaps more integrated in the way that we can interact with local people to actually have their own experience. And the other thing is like you also highlight the how it's actually pretty exhausting day to day, because like so many sessions cram. Uh, well, I think it's like it's good for them is to be, as you mentioned, reduce them on in the first day, and perhaps put it more also as well in between on the second days or third day as well, because the third day we have some leniency in some sessions. It's basically not being filled out because at the time, well, people are already used to with the sense of time during the conference, so they can actually follow it better. But in the first day, a lot of things happening. So you have the registrations, you have the welcome dinner, so it's kind of difficult. And as well, perhaps it's like it the differences in places between sessions cannot be avoided. Then at least they can give us some means of additional transportation. I know this is difficult for the next host, but like, okay, this is the bus or some mode of transportation that make it easier for people to change between one another. Or also a lack of directions, actually, because like many of participants actually confused. Where is this room? Where is that room? And like having the directions signal sign installed in many different ways. Oh, this that room, that room. It's better. And the last thing is basically the design of the sessions. Sometimes it's like it's nice and it's good to have very diverse, but sometimes like the similarities, there are some sessions that actually is very similar, but they located very far away, so people actually, okay, we need to move there all together instead of just put it on all entirety in one rooms. It will be nicer because like, well, people interest is actually will not make them running around to catch the one that they want to listen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to a point you've said. There's a
Yeah.
few things you said there, but I think the one about moving maybe more on the
Yeah.
final day. Are
Yeah.
we sure we want to do that after I very nearly derailed the whole the closing ceremony by overrunning by 20 minutes nearly? Where, so to give a context to those who didn't attend the conference or the final session, so we started the final session 20 minutes late already,
Mm,
and we were progressing through normally until the YSS bit came on, and we give a surprise presentation, which hopefully we'll be able to release at some point within a podcast,
mm,
which was to celebrate the 25th meeting of IDRiM under its previous and current guise, and
mm,
bringing back some of the founders of the IDRiM Society. And we were told that we had 10 minutes plus 5 for the
mm,
YSS to do this. And it got to a point where I was nearly dragging the microphones out of the speakers' hands because
mm,
we were up there for, I think it was nearly 25 minutes doing the presentation, the presentation, and had to do
mm,
the YSS.
mm.
At which point the mayor of the Eastern Samos was coming in ready to do his speech, and we were only halfway through the closing ceremony because I hijacked the closing ceremony quite a bit. And I think did we finish nearly an hour late as well because of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, Miranda, the host, looked like she was about to kill me, um, because of how much we overran by.
Mm,
Um, so I mean, I felt really guilty for doing that. But what I mean, it was at that stage where I was like, I'm trying to drag
mm,
the microphones out of people's hands, and
mm.
people wanted to keep talking. So I was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's not my fault. But the other thing is, you said about local languages. And over in this conference,
mm,
we had one session in Greek,
mm. Yes.
which was was the practitioners basically, and the government's one, and that was supposed to be quite well. And I think they did have translators in that session.
Mm,
Um, so we said, were you thinking that maybe we need to go more towards like what we did in Colombia back in 24, where it was more predominantly in Spanish than English?
mm,
because it's that finite balance as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
How many sessions do you have? Is it like going to be like maybe one continuous line of in the local language and all the rest in English? It's going to be, trying to balance that act, because before
Mm.
Colombia, we never every session was in English.
Mm.
We never had the native language being spoke.
Oh yeah.
And
But, but I mean, like, it's not necessarily all, but I mean, like, they have some, perhaps, like Colombia, in the way that not as extensive as that, perhaps, because like not every host will have the same resources for that, and perhaps not every host will have the similar amount of disaster prone areas that perhaps people will interesting how they can resilience against disasters, but in the way that how we can interact more as an exchange of wisdom and knowledge.
mm, that's less about Colombia, given the fact that I was actually online, and you won't know this.
Yeah.
We didn't have any translator. So if you didn't speak Spanish, you
Mm,
really were struggling to follow.
mm,
So yeah, that's the difficulty as well, making sure that if somebody does want to follow, having a translator. One other thing we did touch upon.
yeah.
We talked about this in the second day, amongst ourselves and a few others.
Yeah.
Is more about, you talk about, language and stuff like that, but also
Mm.
about outreach and,
Oh
getting
yeah.
the community more involved. Maybe that's something that
Mm,
actually came out of a discussion that, we could do in future conferences, is that we do more outreach to the local community,
mm,
because the community definitely knew we were there. I mean, so those who may not be aware that actually we were on the national press, that we were
mm,
actually on the island doing this conference. So
yeah.
there was a lot of publicity that this was happening.
Mm,
My concern was, actually thinking about it afterwards, was
yeah.
we've been parachuted in, but did we do enough outreach to the community, given the fact that they're
Mm,
hosting it and they know it's happening? And
yeah.
I think that was a missed opportunity, and I don't
Mm,
think that it's one of them things where maybe it wasn't thought of, because the pure focus of, historically what we've been is a more
mm,
traditional conference rather than an outreach. But maybe that's something that go into next year and the future years, that maybe we do something within the
yeah.
local community to give back.
Yeah. Wow, it's like we talk a lot about what we experienced, and then what we can bring to the next conferences for as long as we can go. And I dream.
Mm.
So, do you have anything more to talk about, or we can close this one before
Um,
I?
yeah, I mean, if you want to talk next year's conference, um, I think we can announce it. It has been put out there.
Yeah. So it's basically, as Mark mentions that, and I mentioned in the beginning actually, it will be in Indonesia on 2026. Will be in September again. The date perhaps already finalized, but please
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned for the final date announcement. But we can say it's like on the month of September's, as how the IDRiM conference has been in the past several years. Uh, Indonesia is bigger, much bigger countries than Greece, but also have a lot of islands in there. And so the continuity themes will be carried over how it's actually deal with many remote areas. And also Indonesia also one of the most disaster prone countries. It's got number two in the risky index, just below Philippines. So in a way, and me as Indonesians here is like kind of promoting it, because my country will be hosting the next IDRiM. It will be exciting. A lot of
Yeah,
a lot
And
of
what can we expect from Indonesia then?
a lot of local wisdom there, and a lot of great foods and beautiful natures. So
Something.
that's that you will get.
Well, we never did
Anyway,
mention the food about Greece, but
yeah, that the food. Yeah, well,
let's.
just mention shortly, the food Greece is much better. One of the better food in Europe that I taste. And cheap, and it's much cheaper compared to
Hmm,
North Europe. So
yeah.
it's like, and Indonesia will be cheaper than Greece. So it's and a lot of spices there as well, and like makes foods better. The other thing is we also have a good announcements. We will now undergo a change in iDream podcast. We will have a surprise for you all. So stay tuned. This is perhaps well, there will be some perhaps other podcasts after this that we're still doing the same way like this, but the change is occurring soon. So stay tuned to us. Do you have any last words, Mark?
Really, I'm looking forward to the change. I think
Yeah.
that it's definitely gonna
Mm.
keep it fresh.
Mm.
Make our lives a bit easier. That's all
Yeah.
I can say right now. It's gonna make our lives a little bit. Well, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. Maybe not my life. My life's actually probably gonna get harder with it because it's going to require more work from me,
Yeah.
not less. But I think
Yeah.
that actually
Mm.
going forward, because we've been doing this now for 10 months, and
Yeah.
it's been a lot of learning
Mm.
so far. I mean, we discussed this when we were in Greece about how
Yeah.
much actually it has actually evolved over
Mm.
time, and we've
Mm.
very much now we kind of know when the other person needs to ask a question and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
become a lot more fluid. I think out of all of them, this is probably going to be the most fluid one.
Yeah.
It's been a lot more relaxed.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that what is to come is it's going to be trying to find the words without revealing it too much.
Mm.
Um, a new dynamic, very
Yeah.
much. I think the new dynamic, a
Mm.
lot more content
Mm.
than we're outputting now.
Mm.
And actually, I think will increase the audience share. I'm hoping it will.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, please continue listening.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to see is probably less of us actually.
Mm.
In a long run.
It was nice discussions for the this year's iDream 2025, and we're looking forward to the next year's iDream 2026. And see you soon.